do this. Well, good afternoon, everyone. I appreciate you for joining us today. My name is Fadi Kaddoura, State Senator, District 30. I sincerely appreciate your coverage of this event. The goal of today was to reaffirm our constitutional right in the state of Indiana that every faith community is welcome and no one is discriminated against by any elected official or appointed official. We must reaffirm that any elected official who took the oath of office, regardless of which office, is not in violation of that office. We pledged to our state, across the state, for every Hoosier, that no religious community should be attacked or threatened. And we have members of our community across the state who feel insecure the safety of their religious institutions because of the reckless remarks that we've heard from an elected official. We reject the notion that you can wrap up discrimination and hatred in nice words and wrap it with patriotism and then promote it by giving permission to hate. It's beneath the office of any elected official, and we will push back. We're not intimidated. We're not afraid. And we have demands, and among those demands is calling the highest elected office in the state, the governor of the state of Indiana, to reaffirm that he is the governor of all Hoosiers, not just some Hoosiers, and also to ensure that any office that is entrusted with public funds, including the Lieutenant Governor's office that has the faith-based institutions initiative, is not discriminating against communities that the LG hates. And we want to be sure that the governor responds publicly to these issues by also issuing an executive order to require the Civil Rights Commission to make available training across Indiana for any religious community that needs to be trained on their legal rights to worship without fear. These are not requests for a favorable treatment of one community over the other. These are the basic constitutional rights that the governor, lieutenant governor, and every elected official in the State House pledged to adhere to uphold, and to defend. And with that, I would ask Malia, on behalf of the Indiana Muslim Advocacy Network, to say a couple of words as well about co-organizing this event.
We just want to reaffirm the asks that Senator Fadi Kaddoura has made of our governor's office, and just re-emphasize the fact that the hate is not what is going to bring us together. What's going to bring us together is understanding. It's going to be loving our neighbor. And I really just encourage Micah Beckwith to take a look at the things that he's saying, take a look at how our words can truly have impact, how they have real life and death consequences for minority religious communities, for all religious communities across the nation. We see hate-driven attacks all the time. It is because of this hurtful rhetoric that we keep hearing. So please, we echo the asks of our governor's office, everything that Senator Fadi Kaddoura just mentioned. And thank you. Thank you for being here today.
Thank you, Malia. A final thought, I want to thank all of the elected officials who joined us today, our treasurer, Representative Pryor, and Senator Yoder, our minority leader, and other elected officials, Senator Deary, our faith leaders, our amazing faith leaders who refused for Indiana to be divided by its politicians. So to my faith leaders, to the elected officials, to the community members who showed up today, we owe you a debt of gratitude as elected officials and as Hoosiers for standing for what is right. And with that, I would love to take questions, and I will field some questions.
Two questions. Number one, when you first heard the Lieutenant Governor's remarks, what went through your mind personally? And number two, did anybody from the governor's office reach out to you folks saying, hey, this is just Micah being Micah, seeking attention. This is not the position of the state of Indiana or anybody in the Brown administration?
So first, we thought that it was a one-time reaction. We did not want to feed into the rhetoric because that's what any elected official, these tactics have been used before by elected officials. They want to say something offensive so that they can attract the reaction from the community. But as days passed and more rhetoric continued, we have noticed an immediate physical impact on the ground in Indiana. Mosques across Indiana had to hire additional security at every mosque, at almost every prayer, to protect Hoosier Muslims from worshiping. And it is extremely ironic that the Lieutenant Governor himself, who decried being the subject of potential threats is using the same tactics to threaten the Hoosiers. We reject political violence. We reject rhetoric that leads to political violence. And it's no longer about rhetoric. It really is impacting people's lives across the state. I did reach out to the governor's office multiple times. I spoke with the chief of staff. I spoke with his legislative director multiple times. And I've requested that the governor acts on those things, and we have yet to see what the action is.
Senator, are you saying that's because mosques across Indiana received threats? Do we know specific threats?
Every single day, especially in the aftermath of the shooting in San Diego, if you check with any mosque, they receive phone calls, people threatening them, people commenting on social media. If you check our social media accounts, seeing how many people, followers of our lieutenant governor, who attacked our community every single day, calling Muslims as un-Americans, calling Muslims that they're trying to take over America. By the way, we have seen this rhetoric, and I will just briefly mention this. In the early 1900s, the largest Ku Klux Klan organization in the state that was in Indiana deemed that 20% of Hoosiers who were Catholics were here in America with divided loyalty, that they only report to the Pope and they hate America. And the Ku Klux Klan also claimed that the Catholics of Indiana at that time were here for the purpose of throwing the American government and expelling it. We have seen this strategy. We have seen these tactics happen before. These are recycled hatred ideas that existed in the political system for decades, if not centuries. We reject them, we will push back, and we want to send a very clear message. Regardless of who you are, whether elected official or somebody else, we will not be intimidated. We will not be silenced. We will bring the coalition of good Hoosiers across Indiana to demand that every community's constitutional right is protected.
Senator, during today's event, I noticed that the lieutenant governor's name was not mentioned specifically, but and I don't want to infer anything, but are we to believe that today's event is a result of those remarks, a response to those remarks?
Hatred is not a new thing. And for the last many decades, different communities have been attacked in Indiana. Indeed, the remarks of the lieutenant governor brought renewed attention to the topic, but this issue is not new. These types of coalitions existed before the lieutenant governor mentioned the hateful comments that he mentioned. Organizations such as GIMA, the Greater Indianapolis Multi-Faith Alliance, with concerned clergy, with the Jewish community, the Muslim community, the Hindu community, they celebrate and they work together almost every single day on different issues, from housing to education. We will not let the hatred of anyone define us or divide us from committing to what is just and what is right.
What does this do for you folks in the Senate? Because obviously the Lieutenant Governor has a role to play in the Senate structure. So you, Senator Yoder, Greg Walker, Spencer Deary, has there been any conversation with Senator Rod Bray or anybody in Senate leadership is like, hey, can you put a sort of a smackdown on this, at least put out a statement that this type of behavior won't be tolerated? And
I would like to bring also my colleague, Senator Yoder, our minority leader. These discussions are ongoing every single day across the spectrum of Republicans and Democrats. I mean, if you look at the audience today, we have a conservative Republican state treasurer with us in the audience. You had Senator Greg Walker. You had the minority leader, Senator Yoder. You had Senator Deary. This is not political. This is not about Republicans or Democrats. This is about all of us as one community. I'm not sure, Senator Yoder, if you would like to add anything to this.
It's about one community standing together in solidarity with the oath that we took to uphold the Constitution. And of course, we're always in conversations on how we can make the institution of the Senate stronger and more reflective of Hoosiers. It was only a little bit over a year ago when we were talking about another comment about our black neighbors being 3/5 of a person. And here we are now coming together to talk back, to show resistance to this notion of some of the comments that were made about the Muslim faith. And so I think it's very important that we have this be a bipartisan Hoosier movement because it does not reflect what Hoosiers stand for, but we do have to stand up against it because, as Senator Kadora said, this is an age-old issue of fear and pitting people against people.
And if I may, I would like to invite our treasurer. He's a statewide elected conservative Republican. If you'd like to share your thoughts on the idea of how this is not a partisan issue.
Absolutely not. First off, I'd like to ask something first. Actually, could some of our faith community leaders come up front? Because frankly, us politicians being in front, this is not what this is about. So please come forward here, because I want to point out something. And I said this earlier in my remarks. Yes, I'm a conservative Republican. This is a conservative issue, actually, because this is part of the founding of who we are as a people. And if we start saying it's okay to start hating the Muslim or the Jew or the Hindu or any other faith, then pretty soon we start to say, oh, you know what, you're not the right flavor of Christianity, and it's okay to hate you too. And if you think I'm making this up, it wasn't that long ago that one of our Christian churches of my faith was attacked and people shot and killed people in Michigan. This is recent. So the reality is it's important, whatever our political beliefs are, and I actually feel uncomfortable being here as a politician, because this is really a matter of faith. And these faith leaders that are here in front, please come in front, not me. Yeah. These are the people that we need to be talking to, and remembering our Constitution, both Indiana and our U.S. Constitution, have enshrined the rights of the freedom of worship from the very beginning. This is who we are as a people, and this is who we are as Hoosiers.
I was going to ask because it seems like last week the Pentagon kind of misclassified Mormons and were saying that they were not Christian. I was wondering if that's why we saw such strong Mormon representation here at this event today.
No, actually, our faith has been part of the Interfaith Coalition for a long time. I think you're seeing a lot of Latter-day Saints speaking up about things like this because it is part of our history. As I said in my remarks, our people were ejected from the country at gunpoint many years ago, and so this is something that we feel very deeply about because we've experienced it as a people. But it really isn't about my faith. It's about Americans and all faiths.
So you're in the same party as the governor and lieutenant governor. Have you reached out to either of them about your concerns?
I've actually given some of my concerns to the governor. Let's just put it this way. I'm probably not the lieutenant governor's favorite person right now, and that's okay. At the end of the day, it's about remembering we stand for a constitution here that respects and honors all faiths. That's literally the foundational principle of our government, the very First Amendment.
Finally, at this juncture, there was a QR code to be scanned. No, please say you're sorry. This QR code will be shared statewide. We're going to reach out to every Hoosier in every corner to be sure that the governor will receive signed petitions from Hoosiers across Indiana demanding that the governor makes a public statement. What the governor said was a first step in the right direction when he said, I would have not said that, but to me that was not sufficient, because all what it meant that he partially agrees with the lieutenant governor. He just wished if the lieutenant governor packaged it more nicely, and I don't think you can package hate more nicely. So my point is that we need the governor to tell the public that he, as the highest elected executive, does not stand for hate, and he upholds the constitutional commitment that the oath of his office, even if he disagrees, and we've noticed that he disagrees with the lieutenant governor, but that is not sufficient to be only disclosed behind closed doors. What was said publicly demands a public response, and we ask the governor to publicly respond to this.
Well, I'm going to jump in here because, this is one thing I will say, and I would never speak for the governor, but I don't believe that the governor thinks that at all. I think the governor actually is looking at this and saying, hey, this is something common sense. I'm a statewide elected official. I'm not, somebody without the same, elected, that's been elected in Indiana, into the state of Indiana, just like the lieutenant governor has. At the end of the day, I will tell you, that doesn't reflect Republicans. That doesn't reflect this statewide team, and it doesn't reflect who we are as Hoosiers. And I'll say that every single day.
Dan, you guys got a convention coming up in like 9 days and change.
Yes.
Does this sort of add to some of the issues that you guys got to deal with at that day? Or
not really. This is a different situation. We're looking at my office, the office of Comptroller, and the office of Secretary of State, and hopefully that the delegates will say, hey, these are who we think represent Republicans. But at the end of the day, I don't think these two are related. They just happen to be happening about the same time.
With that, we'll conclude the media advisor for today, but feel free if you would like to speak to any of the faith leaders about their specific perspectives, please do so. Thank you for covering this. You play a critical role as experts and professionals in the media to hold all elected officials accountable. So thank you for the work that you do every day. We appreciate it. Enjoy your day. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.